Chapter 17, page 97. Min Li gulped as she walked toward the gray stone wall of the city. As she passed the two stone lions marking the entrance, she glanced behind her. Even though she only saw the trees through the shadows, she knew the dragon was hidden there. Quickly, she pushed through the doors at the gate, leaving the forest and the dragon behind. That's because the dragon wasn't allowed in the city, so he had to stay outside. As the gate closed, Min Li stared. The streets were crowded and bustling. The city seemed to be bubbling with people like boiling rice. Vendors selling fruit and shoes called out their wares to people rushing past. Some pushed wheelbarrows or balancing baskets on their shoulders. A large muddy water buffalo, led by a boy perhaps a year or two older than Min Li, wandered through and was ignored as a commonplace occurrence. "Watch out, little mouse," "Watch out, little mouse," a gruff man said behind her, his baskets of cabbages driving her into the crowd. As she was shoved and pushed, Min Li grabbed the arm of the boy with the water buffalo. "Hi," she said. "If I want to see the king, where do I go?" "The king?" The boy looked at her in surprise. "You'd have to go to the palace." "How do I get to the palace?" Min Li asked. "Just follow the black stones," the boy said, pointing at a road paved with polished bricks. "They'll lead you to the city." "Wait," Min Li said, "isn't this the city? The palace is in another city?" "You must not be from around here," the boy laughed. "The city of bright moonlight is divided into two. This is the outer city, where anyone can live and travel. The inner city is where the palace is, where the king and the officials live. You have to have permission to go into the inner city. If you don't, you aren't going to be able to see the king or the palace. There are thousands of guards protecting the inner city. They won't let anyone through without permission." "I'll find a way," Min Li said confidently. "Thanks." And she let go of the boy's arm and headed toward the black road. However, as Min Li got closer to the inner city, she realized the boy was right. The red walls of the inner city loomed tall and forbidding, and every gold-studded gate door was guarded by at least 2 soldiers, their silver armor reflecting in the hot sun. It would be a daunting task just to enter the inner city, much less the palace and the king. "But I must," Min Li said to herself. Regardless, the guards were stern and hard, and she quaked inside. "If I ask to go in," Min Li thought as she hung back against the fruit stands and fish vendors, "they'll ignore me or force me away with their swords. And either way, I won't be able to see the king. What should I do?" "Not as easy as you thought, huh?" a voice said next to her. Min Li turned and saw the buffalo boy standing next to her. Min Li gave him a wry look. "Boys," she thought to herself, "always thinking they know everything." Still, she had to admit he was right. She had no idea how she would see the king. "They must let people into the inner city sometimes," Min Li said. "They do," the boy said. "Once a year at the Moon Festival, they open the gates to everyone." "When's the Moon Festival?" Min Li asked. "Already happened," the boy said. "You'll have to wait until next year." Min Li bit her lip in frustration. What was she going to do? "I don't know why you want to go in there so badly?" the boy said. "The buildings and clothes are nicer, but the people, a bunch of puffed up frogs." At the Moon Festival, one of the stable men wanted to order me around and thought he could trick me into thinking he was king. But when I asked why he wasn't wearing a golden dragon, he knew his prank wasn't going to work. Did he think I was stupid? Everyone knows a golden dragon is always and only worn by kings and the emperor. The people in there think we're a bunch of dumb oxen. The buffalo beside the boy gave a snort at that. "Sorry," the boy said, patting the buffalo on the nose. "You know I didn't mean it." Because buffalo and oxen are the same thing. But by this time, the inner city guards had seen them lingering by the gate. "You are kids. You there, kids," one of them barked. "Move along." "Come on," the boy said, tugging Min Li's sleeve. "Let's go." Min Li followed him and the buffalo. "Where are you going?" she asked him. "I'm going home," he said. "You can come too if you want." And since Min Li had no place to go, she did. Chapter 18. Min Li followed the boy through the maze of streets and alleyways for what seemed like a long time. If it wasn't for the big buffalo that was always in view, Min Li would have easily lost him many times. "Not too far now," the boy said to her. Min Li realized that the boy lived very far from the inner city. The road was no longer stone, but dirt. Even from a distance, she could see that the outer city wall was cracked and broken. "I live over there," the boy said, pointing, and Min Li looked down a muddy path that led to a shabby, rickety hut that looked as if the first strong wind had blown it away. The boy brought the buffalo right into the hut, and Min Li went in after. She looked around the small, meager home. The only furnishings Min Li could see were 2 wooden crates and a rough stool. On one side of the hut, a crude metal grate stood in the fireplace of a well-worn pot on it. The other half of the hut was divided into 2 piles of dry grass. Min Li watched as the buffalo went directly to one pile and lay down. The boy gave it an affectionate slap on the side and dragged the rough wooden stool across the floor to her. "Here, have a seat," he said as he sprawled onto the other pile of grass. "And tell me why you want to go see the palace so much." "It's not the palace," Min Li said as she sat on the stool. "I want to see the king." And she told the buffalo boy the whole story. She saw his face wrinkle with disbelief when she talked about the fish, and he shook his head when she told about the dragon. But he didn't interrupt once. "I don't know how you are going to see the king," the boy told her when she finished. "Even if you do see him, I doubt you'll be able to ask for a borrowed line, especially when you don't even know what it is." "But I have to," Min Li said. "There must be a way." "Well, I always think better after I've eaten," the boy said, and he stood up and opened one of the crates. "Let's have dinner." While he fried the plain bamboo shoots on the pot over the fireplace, Min Li looked around the bare room. "Do you live by yourself?" she asked. "Uh-huh," the boy nodded. "My parents died 4 years ago. Ever since then, it's been me and the buffalo." He spoke almost carelessly, without anger or self-pity. Suddenly, Min Li thought about her own home. The wood floor always swept by Ma, the extra blanket. But Ba put over her when the wind blew cold, and she felt a strange tightness in her throat. That's because she's homesick. She's homesick. Just think about home, how much she misses it. The boy finished cooking and pushed the cooked bamboo, like thinly sliced pieces of yellow wool, onto a plate. He only had one plate, so he set it on the stool next to the 3 peaches Min-Li had left, and the boys both sat cross-legged on the ground. She took out her chopsticks. He only had one pair of those as well, and each picked and ate with the stool as the table and the single plate between them. You don't have any aunts or uncles? Min-Li asked. Other family or friends? Well, the boy said, tossed a peach to the buffalo, and then hesitated. I do have one friend. And Min-Li was surprised to see his face change unexpectedly. The sharpness of his expression softened like a flower blooming, and his smile was gentle. Who is it? Min-Li asked. The story of the Buffalo Boy's Friend. Sometime during the hot summer days, there was not enough water for my buffalo, so I liked to take him out of the city into the surrounding forest to drink from the stream there. One day, I brought him to the forest, and he kept pulling and pushing me away from the stream. No matter what I did, he refused to go in my direction. So finally, I just let him lead the way, and he brought me to a part of the forest I had never seen before. A part I don't think anyone from the city has ever seen before. The trees seemed to reach the clouds, the green grass felt like a silk blanket, and there was a lake of clear water so pure and clean it looked as if it were a piece of sky. But the most beautiful things, there were the 7 girls swimming in it.
Sorry, I'm continuing on pulling Sierra.
That's fine.
Over there from outcomes.
Okay.
Thanks. No, you come back. We're just gonna hang out for a second. We're gonna try a little thing.
Okay. But when the girls saw me and the buffalo come through the trees, they screamed. They jumped out of the water, grabbed their robes, and ran away. They moved so quickly it seemed as they had all disappeared into the sky. All except for one, that is. One girl stayed in the water and stared at me with scared eyes. Her hair floated around her like a midnight halo, and her white face looked like a star in the sky. Hello? I said. You're Buffalo, she said. Her voice was like flute notes in the air. He's sitting on my clothes. Oh, I said. I quickly pushed him over. On the ground, crushed and a little muddy, was a blue silk dress. As I lifted it, the softness made me ashamed of my rough hands. Here, I said, bringing the dress to the edge of the lake. She looked at me hesitating. I won't look, I said, and I placed the dress on the ground and walked a bit away, with my back turned. I heard her slip out of the water and heard the rustle of silk as she put on her clothes. Thank you, she said. You can turn around now. And when I turned around, a girl was smiling at me. She was my age, but she was prettier than any girl I'd ever seen before. Even paintings of princesses were ugly compared to her. I didn't mean to scare you, I said. My buffalo was just thirsty. I guess so, she said, and she laughed like tinkling bells as we watched my big lumbering buffalo make his way to the water. I can't believe my sisters just left me like that. I'm the youngest too, and they're supposed to watch me. But I'm glad they didn't, because now I can talk to you. Tell me about you. Does your buffalo go with you everywhere? Make sure you listen to part 2 and answer all of the questions.